Welcome back with a smiling face. Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. Moonbound Silence. Episode 6. Chapter 26-30. Jasper's POV. SH, T, was all I could think to myself when I heard the growling and snarling coming from the east of the territory. Sarin had mind-linked me stating that she and others would be going for a run in wolf form and that she would be back later. When she screamed rogues within the pack mind link, it was like a massive alarm went off in everyone's heads. I was only about 5 minutes away from the territory when I heard her cries. I didn't even wait to get into the gate. I parked the car and told the guards to drive it back to the castle. Blade took over and we jumped the gate running as fast as we could to get to them. I knew the others would keep her safe to the best of their abilities, but the sounds of the snarling and the pungent smell of sewage led me to believe that there were at least a dozen rogues and not enough of our pack members. I found myself being flanked by our guards, one of whom was Milan's brother Angelo, our top warrior and one of our head pack trainers. Even though he and Milan fought like cats and dogs, she was still his sister, and he would do anything to protect her, and Sarin, his Luna. I pushed Blade to his limits, and we could finally see the fight ahead of us. Tundra was protecting Sarin, who was in human form, and I could tell that Sarin was knocked out. Seeing her unconscious fueled the rage within Blade, and he pushed himself even harder. Two larger rogues look as if they were going to pounce, and just as they were about to, Blade rammed both of them. He struggled with one for about 10 seconds before grabbing a hold of his neck and tearing a chunk out of him. The rogue fell dead instantaneously. When we looked up, we found that more of warriors had joined in the fight, and Angelo had just finished dispatching the other rogue Blade had rammed into. We quickly shifted back, and I saw that Melody was back in human form as well and holding a passed-out Sarin. I grabbed a pair of shorts for myself and a t-shirt for Melody that was kept hidden in the trees for emergencies. I quickly put on the shorts and ran over to Melody and handed her the shirt. She passed Sarin to me and got dressed. "What happened?" I shouted as I handed her the shirt. "I think she used too much energy, killing one of the rogues," she replies. "What did she do?" "She raised it in the air and snapped its neck." "I never wanted her to have to use her powers to kill anyone," I grumbled. "I wanted Sarin to master her powers, but I never thought she would ever have to use them to kill. Even if it was necessary. Well, if she hadn't, she and I would have both been inged," she said to me while I lifted Sarin into my arms. "Angel, are you okay?" I heard Kendrick ask my sister. I couldn't help but smirk a bit. "I'm fine, babe," she replied. I shook my happiness for my sister out of my head. I had only one burning question. How were there rogues within the territory? "We don't know, this is a first for us too, man," Jason replied. I turned to look at him, and his eyes were black with anger. He was holding Milan, who seemed to have an injury to her arm. "Everyone get back to the castle. Angelo, you and the others burn the bodies," I commanded. "Yes, Alpha," they all replied. I carried Sarin back to the castle. Something was off. We have always had rogues come around the territory, some feral, some not, but we haven't been attacked within the walls in over a decade. This was random, but yet seemed to be planned at the same time. We made the walk back to the castle, which was further than I liked, but I needed to get Sarin checked by the pack doctor. As soon we made it through the door, I went straight to the hospital. "Dr. Andrews!" I shouted. "Alpha, please, bring her this way," he said. He was already waiting for me. The beta informed me you were on your way with the Luna. Get a nurse to check on Milan, she's been injured. Yes, we already have a team working on her, the Gamma will be fine. I gently place Sarin on the hospital bed, and I get her covered with a drape. Melody comes in and helps me get Sarin into a hospital gown before Dr. Andrews checks her vitals. I watch as he checks her pulse, her reflexes, and her blood pressure. Doctor, how is she? The Luna is fine, Alpha. She is in a stage of healing. Her body is worn out, and it appears that her wolf put her in a deep sleep so that she can heal. Melody and I let out a sigh of relief. I'm going to put her on N4 and monitor her vitals overnight. The Luna is young and healthy, so she should be fine within a few hours, but I would like to keep her overnight. I understand, thank you. A few minutes later, a few nurses come in and hook Sarin to the monitoring machines, and put N4 in her to keep her hydrated. Once they were done, they bowed their heads and walked out. Jasper, I'm so sorry, Melody says. I look at her confused. Why are you apologizing? I should have done better to protect her. She used her powers when she shouldn't have had to, all because I wasn't fast enough. Hey, don't do that. You did what you had to, and so did she. You stood by her side to keep her safe, and I'm grateful for that, I said and put my arm around her shoulders. Mel, I'm not mad at you or anyone else. You guys went for a run, no one knew that there would be rogues within the walls of the pack. It's no one's fault. Sarin and her ability alerted Angelo and the guards and me. What? She looked up at me. Yet, when Sarin shouted that there were rogues, she somehow alerted the entire pack. I don't know if you guys could hear it the way I did, or even the way Angelo and the warriors did, but it sounded like a massive gong went off in my head. No, I didn't notice, but then again, she was right next to me. I nodded my head. I thought for a moment, and something else seemed off to me. Was it me, or did those rogues seem abnormally big? Yeah, I thought that too. The two Sarin and IK, were average, but the two that you and Angelo got were H.H, like really H.H. At first, I thought it was because they were up in my face, but now that you mention it, they were big. Angel! Kendrick shouted coming in the door. Hey, are you okay? She asked him. I realized then Kendrick had a bandage around his bicep. I'm good baby, it's just a scratch. It should heal before dinner. Ken, why were there rogues within the walls? I ask while gritting my teeth. I'm trying to figure that out right now. I sent a team of trackers to where the fight took place and am having them retrace the rogues' footsteps. Hopefully, they figure out where they came from and how they got in. What about Angelo? I asked. He and his team finished burning the bodies. I clenched my fist in my hand, frustrated that Sarin was put in danger. How's she doing? Kendrick asked, referring to Sarin. The doctor said she's in a stage of healing. Callie put her in a deep sleep so she can recuperate, I replied. Angel, you mind telling me what the hell happened? Kendrick asked Melody. It's like I told Jasper. She used her powers to levitate the rogue in the air, and then she somehow snapped its neck. Kendrick looked at me for an explanation, but I didn't have one. The only thing Sarin was used to doing when it came to her telepathic powers was lifting small objects and earthly elements to manipulate them. Having to lift a 300-pound wolf and use enough force and power to snap its neck was probably too much power for her to take. About half an hour later, Jason and Milan came in and Milan was in a sling. You good? I asked her. I'm pissed, but other than that I'm good. Yo, did those rogues seem big to any of you? Jason asked. He must have noticed too. We all nodded. They were strong too. I've never had a problem taking down a rogue, but the one I had was abnormally strong, Milan replied. The fact that Owen had to help me lol, it is ridiculous. You all know that won't let me live it down. Jason and I smirked at her. Milan was one tough she-wolf. She was one of the best female fighters we had, and the fact that she needed help to one rogue really did say something. I wanted to say something to this thought, but I saw Sarin moving in her bed. Hey, beautiful, can you hear me? I asked while sitting on the edge and caressing her cheek. I waited for a second and her eyes fluttered open. Jasper. I'm right here, dearest, I say and kisses her forehead. What happened? There was a rogue attack, I answer. I remember that part, but everything else is a blur. You don't remember anything about the attack? Jason asks. I remember smelling sewage and a lot of it. I remember the rogues circling us, and then Melody and me getting cornered, and that's it. You don't remember using your powers to one? Melody asked. Sarin's eyes widened and she shot straight up. I what? I shouted at her. Oops, Sarin was breathing hard and fast and I could tell she was starting to panic. Hey, baby, relax, breathe and try to relax. Led someone. Jasper, led someone. Oh my god, I'm a murderer. I'm just like Blood Moon. Led someone in cold blood. Hey, no you didn't, I said hugged her close to me. You're not a murderer. But led someone. You did what you had to do, dearest. You protected yourself and my sister. It was self-defense. That doesn't make you a murderer. Those rogues attacked you guys, and you needed to protect yourself, Sarin started to sob. I couldn't help but love her more. Her pure heart is what makes her the perfect partner. Jasper, please don't hate me. What? I looked down at her. Baby, why would I hate you? Led someone. Out of self-preservation, Sarin, I'm proud of you. What? I'm proud of you. You took control of your powers, and you protected the people we care about. Granted, you knocked yourself out by doing it, but it gave me and the others time to get to you. You're not mad, she sniffled. The others and I couldn't help but chuckle at her innocence. Not at all, I said and hugged her again. Didn't the doctor say she would be out for at least a few hours? Melody asked. It's only been 45 minutes. She must have the rapid healing ability, I reply and look at my beautiful mate. Lucky, Milan snarked. We all just laughed. I'm sorry you guys got hurt because of me, Sarin said. What? Milan exclaimed. Girl, we're all alive because of you, Sarin gave her a confused look. She's right, Jason added. If you hadn't warned us that there were rogues in the area, we would have been caught off guard, and we could have been seriously injured, or even killed, he concluded. Your heightened senses are a blessing, Kendrick added. Melody just nodded in agreement. Sarin smiled cautiously, and I made her lay down again. Sarin wanted to leave the hospital, but since the doctor ordered her to stay overnight, I was not going to argue with him. Dr. Andrews had been our pack doctor for over 2 decades, and even I didn't defy his orders. Sarin protested, but I gave her one stern look and she backed down. Equals or not, I only wanted was best for Sarin, so I would use my alpha card on her if I had to. I made sure that Mr. and Mrs. Williams made something hearty for her, so she didn't have to eat hospital food. After spending a full day in the hospital, Sarin was released, and she was 100% healthy and back to her old self. The tracker team eventually reported back that the rogues somehow came over the mountains and jumped the wall. Even though the entire wall is safeguarded with alarms and tripwires, they were able to scale the wall and avoid them all. They either got really lucky, or they had inside help. I relayed this information to Jason's father, who was in charge of keeping the perimeter secure. Hearing that Milan was injured in the attack and that both Kendrick and Keaton were in the fight got him moving even faster than you could say hot potato. I spent the next week at home making sure that the rest of the perimeters were secure and started to post additional hidden cameras along the mountains to keep an eye out for any more potential rogue attacks. I honestly wanted to put my trip to Spain on hold, or even possibly take Sarin with me, but getting her a passport in such short notice when in fact she's actually considered to be dead was going to be harder than I expected. "Jasper, I don't want you to go," Sarin whined. "Sometimes I forgot how young she really is. Dearest, this business meeting is important, it's going to help secure our financial future as well as the Pax. I know, I just hate it. I haven't been without you since we've been together. Come here," I said, opening my arms, and she gave me a h.ug. I leaned down and gave her a k.s.s. It was meant to be a sweet see you later k.s.s, but Sarin grabbed my cheeks and made the k.s.s even deeper. The next thing I knew, my mind was filled with all the images she wanted me to do her, and I couldn't help myself. I took her right there on the floor of our bedroom. "Please, oh my God, please," she m0aned as I pummeled her as fast as I could. How was I going to handle not being able to not have sex for a week? This was going to be pure T0RTURE for me. Ever since that day in my office, Sarin and I have had at least once every other day, and sometimes over consecutive days. "I love you so much, baby," I m0aned into her neck. I just grazed her mark with my teeth. Her body shivered underneath me. "Jasper," she whispered as she pawed at my back. This was a horrible idea, but only because I knew for a fact that I was now running behind schedule. I thrust a few more times and I felt her walls tighten and her insides heat up as a few more thrusts were all it took for me to crash my LPS into hers. I spurted all of my seed into her, and we both caught our breath. This girl was going to be the death of me. Coming never felt so good. I slid out of her and stood up. I helped her to her feet, and she pulled up her underwear and leggings, and I quickly changed my boxers and my pants since they were covered in our juices. "Sarin, I promise, 9 days will go by quicker than you think," I tell her as I get dressed. She nodded her head and I gave her one more deep k.s.s. She pecked my LPS once more before I grabbed my suitcase and we walked out of our room. Sarin was definitely the clingy type, and normally I would hate that, but with her, I found it to be adorable and loving. When we got downstairs, Kendrick was already waiting for me. "Why can't you go by yourself?" Melody shouted. I had made the last-minute decision to bring Kendrick with me just as a precaution, and Melody was angry. "Think of this way, you and Sarin can bond more," I tell her and k.s.s the top of her head. She pushed me away and grunted. "Angel, it's only 9 days, you were away for 4 years, Kendrick said to her. "That's different, babe, we weren't mates then." "Doesn't mean I missed you any less," he replied to her. We both said our final goodbye to the girls, and to Jason and Milan before heading out. The drive to the airport would take a hot minute, and it didn't help that we were running behind schedule. Once we got the airport, the company jet was waiting for us, and thankfully, our pilot had already gotten the go-ahead to take off. Once Kendrick and I were on board, the flight attendant Phil P. closed the cabin door and we were well on our way to Zaragoza, Spain. Chapter 27. Jason's POV. Jasper and Kendrick have been gone for a few hours now, and the girls were all in Sarin's office spending time together. Both the guys made sure to take care of all the pack stuff before leaving, so I only had to play delegator for the next week and a half. I made my way upstairs to Sarin's office to check in on the girls when I saw that the door was slightly ajar. That's when I heard their conversation. "Ah!" Sarin shouted. "Ha ha ha!" Milan and Melody laughed. "Girl, you're trying to take too much all at once. You need to ease yourself into it," Milan said. What were these girls doing? It almost sounded like Sarin was choking on something. "I didn't think it would make me gag like that, you should have warned me." "Sarin, doing something like this takes time and practice. You just can't take all of it and expect to not gag or choke," Melody said. "What in the world?" I thought to myself. What were Milan and Melody teaching her? It couldn't be what I was thinking, could it? "This is pointless, I'm never going to be able to do this." Sarin's voice sounded like she was sulking. "Nonsense, practice makes perfect," Milan said. "Watch me." I listened closely and then hear Milan M0AN. I heard her smack her L.P.S. and then catch her breath. It sounded exactly like when she goes down on me. Holy, were they teaching Sarin how? I couldn't allow this. Jasper would have my head if he found out I let Milan and his sister teach his innocent mate dirty favors. "What the hell are you guys doing?" I shouted while throwing the door open. All of them screamed in surprise. "Babe!" "What?" Milan shouted at me. I ran over to the desk and saw a bottle and 2 shot glasses. "Hey!" I was so confused. "Jason, what the hell is your problem?" Melody shouted at me. I heard, "Hey!" "You thought what?" Sarin asked with an innocent tone. "Milan, what are you guys doing?" I asked her. "We're teaching Sarin how to drink liquor," she replied. Liquor. I looked at the bottle and realized it was a bottle of whiskey. I let out a sigh of relief. "What did you think we were doing?" Milan asked me. "I thought you guys were teaching the Luna something you shouldn't be," I answered. "What?" They all look at me confused, then Milan started to laugh when she realized what I had meant. "Oh my god! Ha ha ha! Babe, you thought we were teaching Sarin how to, ha ha ha!" Milan rolled over laughing. Which in turn made the others laugh as well. "Jason, you're too late for that anyway," Melody said. "What?" I exclaimed. "Nah. Why are you two corrupting the young Luna?" I shouted. "Corrupting? Oh my gosh, you need to take a chill pill, Jace," Melody said. "She's an adult, and my brother's mate, she's eventually going to have to learn how to do it, so why not learn from us? Jasper is not going to appreciate you two teaching his innocent tiny mate favors while he is away. I'm sure he would rather teach her himself." "Guys cannot teach a girl," Milan said to me. "What? We're the ones that know what we like," I replied. "Babe, you don't know what you like, trust me." "I know what you like," I just glared at Milan. "You two, out," I tell Melody and Milan. "The Luna is underage anyway, she shouldn't be drinking," I say and put the lid back on the whiskey and grab the 2 shot glasses. "Hey, wait a minute, why are there only 2 shot glasses?" I look at them. None of them say anything. "Oh, well, would you look at that, it's time for lunch," Milan said and grabbed Melody by the hand and dragged her out the office. Sarin gave me a cheesy smile and ran after them. I found myself left alone in Sarin's office. Those three were hiding something from me. Melody's POV. After we were clear from Jason, we all let out a sigh of relief. "Whew, that was a close call," I said. "I didn't think he would notice that there were only 2 shot glasses," Milan said. "Melody, have you gotten checked out yet?" Sarin asked me. "Not yet, it's still too soon to tell." "I still can't believe this whole time Ken put off mating was because he wanted to knock you up," Milan said. "It wasn't him, it was his wolf and Tundra too." "Tundra said that it was the moon goddess plan," I replied. "Sarin, I still can't believe you knew but never said anything," Milan said, shoving her slightly. "I promised Ajax I wouldn't. Plus, it wasn't my place to say anything," she replied. "Well, whatever, if it was the moon goddess plan, then it's her plan, who am I to question that, I say." We all head over to the dining room where Mr. and Mrs. Williams has prepared a barbecue lunch for us and Jason finally joined us. "What is all this?" Sarin asked. Everyone at the table just looked at her. "It's barbecue," Jason replied as he sat down next to Milan. She just looked at us quizzically. "Sarin, you never cooked barbecue at Blood Moon?" I asked her. "No, they never let me cook anything that required a fire, they were afraid I would burn down the pack house." We all just looked at her. Blood Moon was so full of SHT. "Well, this here is brisket, those are pork ribs with Mrs. Williams's famous sauce, that's chicken, these are Italian sausages, and that's turkey wrist," Milan said, pointing to each item. "You know what the sides are, right?" I asked her. "Yes, those I have seen and made before," she said with a smile. There was still so much to Sarin that we didn't know, and so much that she didn't know. I couldn't even begin to imagine what it was like growing up in isolation and slavery. I honestly wondered how Blood Moon was doing without her. I knew that Andrea was friends with Emma Patterson, is the former Alpha's daughter. I figured after lunch I would see if I could dig up some dirt on that pack. I know that Jasper has been meaning to look into bringing down their pack, for they did to Sarin's family, and to her. "Oh my gosh, this is so good!" Sarin exclaimed, breaking me from my thoughts. She had a piece of sausage in her mouth and was practically drooling while she kept chewing on it, and then moving on to some ribs. We all couldn't help but laugh at her. This was probably the most excited we had ever seen her when it came to food. Even though she's been here a little less than 2 months already, Sarin still didn't eat a lot at mealtimes. We don't try to force her to eat since she told us she's not used to eating large meals. Everyone knows that when you skip too many meals, your stomach contracts, making it harder to consume large portions later. So, we just let her eat comfortably. "Jasper will be pleased to know that she's eating more than normal," Jason said, and we all nodded. "I need to ask Mr. and Mrs. Williams how they made this," she said, and jumped out of her seat and ran straight to the kitchen. I looked at Jason and Milan and we all shook out heads. For some reason, Sarin was hellbent on keeping her cooking skills up to date, even though there was a high chance she would never have to use them. Jasper's POV. The flight to Zaragoza was long and tiring, but overall completely uneventful. Kendrick and I went over the contract, timeline, and money and all that other business stuff that went into all of this. "Alpha, Beta, prepare for landing," the captain of our jet announced. We sat back with our seat belts on and waited for landing. As soon as we felt the jet land and come to a stop, our flight attendant Phil P opened the cabin door. "Alpha, Beta, please enjoy and stay safe," she said. Thank you, Phil, P., I replied. Kendrick and I grabbed our bags and deplaned. As soon as I came down the stairs, there was already a limo waiting. Did you order this for us? Kendrick asked. No, I replied, looking at it in confusion. Just then, the driver came around and greeted us. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Jose, good afternoon, my name is Jose. The driver took off his hat and bowed. He was a werewolf. I have been sent here to pick you up, Señor Valencia, Señor Neslini. Good afternoon, I replied. Exactly who were you sent by? Forgive me, I was sent by Alfa Rabano. I'm sorry, but who is that? Kendrick asked. Jose looked at us in confusion. Pardon? Are you not here to go over designs for our new pack house? I'm sorry, Jose, but I thought we would be working with an Eduardo Cabello, I replied. Ah yes, Eduardo is the pack attorney in charge of the paperwork, but it is the Alpha whom you will be meeting with. Kendrick and I made an O shape with our mouths and nodded. Please, allow me to take your bags. Make yourselves comfortable, the drive will take about an hour. Kendrick and I nodded and gave him our bags. We got into the limo and relaxed. Looks like this pack has some money to throw around, Kendrick said. Ken, let me see those specs again. Kendrick dug out the file and handed me the specs for the project. I looked them over. This entire time I thought we were designing a new hotel for this pack, but it's actually a Jinner Mouse pack house. How big? Kendrick asked. If I'm reading this correctly, they want at least 150 rooms. What? That's not a pack house, that's a castle. Not even, our castle has less than half of that. That's not it though, they want an Olympic-size pool, gym, gymnasium with a basketball court and volleyball court, movie theater, 2 masters-sized kitchens, and bowling alley all on the first floor and basement. Kendrick looked at me like I was an alien. He snatched the file out of my hand and read it over himself. Dude, this thing will take at least 2 years to finish. Try 3 years, I reply. I shook my head at how massive this project would actually turn out to be. I put my hands behind my head and sat back. Kendrick and I both ended up falling asleep for the hour-long drive to this pack's territory. I dreamt about Sarin, and her sweet body just writhing underneath me. Her screaming my name at the top of her lungs. That quickie we had before I left was going to have to sustain me for the next 9 days. I hadn't realized that the limo had even stopped until I heard the window open and Jose wake us up. Señor Valencia, Señor Neslini, I opened my eyes and looked at him. We have arrived at the Rue Señor pack. The what pack? Kendrick asked. Forgive me, Rue Señor translates to Nightingale. We just nodded at his answer and out of the limo. When I looked at the pack house before me, my mouth dropped. This pack house was almost the size of our castle, and I saw that we're in the middle of nowhere. Yo, this place is lit. Kendrick stated. We were surrounded by nothing but forest for this one pack house. I saw several wolves just running around. Some were playing, some looked like they were boxing, and some were just running through the trees. Jose, is this only housing you have for your pack? I asked him. Yes, Señor Valencia. Our pack resides in one pack house, because we have less than 200 pack members, but we are very strong nonetheless. Tell me, Jose, how does a pack as small as yours have enough to pay for such upgrades as listed within the contract? Kendrick asked. I apologize, Señor Neslini, but I am not at liberty to discuss such matters. He bowed his head and then went to grab our bags. Kendrick and I just looked at each other and shrugged our shoulders. Please follow me, Jose said and took our bags in for us. We followed him up the steps to the front door. As soon as we got inside, Kendrick and I were both flanked by half a dozen she-wolves. Whoa, ladies, please, don't, I said and gently pushed them away. Sorry ladies, but I'm happily taken, Kendrick said and walked away as well. All of the ladies pouted at us. Fuera contigo. Off with you, we heard a deep and stern voice. All of the girls scurried away. My apologize Alpha Valencia, Beta Neslini, we have many unmated females, and they get a little too excited whenever we have male visitors, an older gentleman said and came towards us. Allow me to introduce myself, my name is Jacques Rabano, and I am the Alpha of the Ruiseñor pack. It's a pleasure to meet you Alpha Rabano, I reply and firmly shake his hand. He smiles and moves on to Kendrick. I see that you are marked Alpha Valencia. Yes, my mate is back home. Shame, I would have loved to have met your Luna, he replies and then looks to Kendrick. Beta Neslini, you say you have a mate, yet you're bear no mark. We haven't made it that far yet. But trust me, that's the first thing I'm doing when I get home. I am surprised. Most wolves cannot wait to mark their mates. Yet, well, it's kind of a lot of pressure when your mate is also your Alpha's younger sister, Kendrick replied. Alpha Rabano looked straight at me and I just smirked. How is he still alive? He asked me, and I busted out laughing. Trust me, I almost killed him, I replied. Well, now that we have pleasantries out of the way, please, go to your guest rooms and relax. I am certain your trip was exhausting. We can start work tomorrow. Thank you, I think that's a good idea, I reply to him. Perfecto, I will have Omegas escort you to your rooms. Dinner will be served at 6:30 p.m., we nod our heads, and 2 Omegas come to Kendrick and me. They lead us upstairs, and we find that we're both on the 3rd floor, but 4 rooms away from each other. See you in few hours, Kendrick said and went into this guest room. Thank you, I say to the Omega. She bows her head and leaves. I go into the room and CK on the lights. It was a decent size and had its own bathroom. The bed was a queen size, which was kind of small for my taste, but it would just have to do. I opened up my suitcase and got my toiletries together to put them into the bathroom. Once I got all that settled, I pulled out the framed photo of Sarin that I brought with me and put it on the nightstand next to the bed. I zipped up my suitcase and put it on the floor by the closet, and then PPED down to my boxers and laid on the bed. I looked at the time and saw it was early morning back home. I decided to see if Sarin was awake. Hello. Hey, beautiful. Jasper. Did you land safely? I did. What are you up to? I'm getting ready to go shopping with Milan, Melody, and Michelle. Shopping? For what? Just because. They want to go buy new stuff, so I'm just tagging along. I left my credit card in the nightstand on your side of the bed, dearest. Take it with you and buy whatever you want. Are you sure? Of course. Thank you, I promise not to spend too much. What are you doing? I'm just lying in the guest bed at the pack that I'm visiting. Pack? You said you were going for work. I am here for work. The pack I'm visiting hired my company to help build them a new pack house. I originally thought it was for a hotel, but that was a misunderstanding on my part. Oh, that sounds like a big project. It is, but I'm only here to provide the design of what it would look like when it's done. If they like any of the designs the company came up with, then we sign a contract and get paid when construction is complete. How long will the construction take? Based on the information they provided and the stuff that they want to go into this new pack house, it would take roughly 2 to 3 years to finish. Oh wow, that's a long time. Yeah, it is. Most larger projects like this one will take longer complete, but the money my company gets out of it will be large and will last us a while. That's awesome, I'm excited for you. Thank you, baby. Hey. Get off the phone and hurry up. Oh sorry, but Milan is bitching at me to hurry and get ready. It's okay, dearest. Be safe and have fun shopping. I will. I love you, Sarin. I love you too, Jasper. I miss you. I miss you too, bye. Bye. I hung up the phone and tossed it onto the bed next to me. I missed Sarin so much already. I hated being away from her. I made a mental note to myself to get Sarin's identity back so we can apply for her to get a passport. But for now, I was just going to have the fact she wasn't here with me. Chapter 28. Melody's POV. As I was getting ready to go shopping with Milan, Sarin, and Michelle, I got a call via Skype. Hello. Hello, my beautiful angel. Hi, baby, how was the flight? Long and tiring. What are you up to? Getting ready to go shopping with the girls. Oh yeah, what do you plan on buying? Well, because of you, I need some new underwear, and probably some new winter clothes and boots. How about you buy some lingerie for me, and then you can give me a nice surprise when I get home next week. I just might do that. Yes. You're such a perv. You love me either way. I do, and I miss you already. I miss you too, . Oh, before I forget, just an FYI, there are a lot of unmated females where I'm at, but I promise you, nothing is going to happen. I will fight tooth and nail to keep them away from me. Ha ha ha, I trust you, babe. Have you made an appointment with Dr. Andrews yet? Not yet, I'm going to wait until you get here. I think it would best if we did this together, you know, just in case it didn't happen. Well, Ajax said the moon goddess said it would, so we have to trust that it did. I still don't understand why the moon goddess wants me to get pregnant so quickly. I don't either, Angel, but we both know to never question her and her ways. Everything happens for a reason. I know. Hey. What is what you guys and being on the phone? Sorry Ken, Milan is bitching at me. No worries, have fun shopping, I love you. I love you too, babe. After I hung up, I scowled at the ever-nosy Milan who was standing in my doorway. Seriously, I haven't spoken to him in almost 24 hours, I snap at her. You and Sarin are exactly the same, she said, putting her hands on her P.S. It's only been 24 hours. Yeah, well, ever since we became mates, we've been living together, so sue me for missing him. Ugh, you and Sarin are lovesick puppies, she rolled her eyes. Hurry up, it takes an hour to get there, and I want to beat the afternoon traffic. I'm coming, I throw my phone in my purse, put on my Adidas, and follow her downstairs. I see that Michelle and Sarin are already waiting at the door and they're laughing about something. What's so funny? I was telling Michelle what Jason thought we were doing yesterday in my office, Sarin answered, and Milan and I couldn't help but laugh. All right ladies, Angelo is waiting outside for us, Milan said. Who's Angelo? Michelle asked. What? You've never met Angelo? I asked. No, I haven't. Oh, Angelo is my twin brother. He's also one of the top warriors in the pack, one of the trainers, and he is also Sarin's personal guard when she leaves the territory, Milan answered. Oh, I didn't know you had any siblings, Gamma. Yeah, Angelo and I fight like cats and dogs, so we don't really tell people we're related. But we love each other, we just never admit it to anyone either. We all laughed at her and then headed outside. As soon as we made it to the car, it was like something out of the Twilight Zone. Angelo and Michelle made eye contact with one another, and the next thing we knew, they ran to each other and Angelo had her pinned against the car and dry humped her in front of us. Angelo's POV. I was waiting for my sister, the Luna, Beta, and one of their friends to hurry up and come out front. Milan said they all wanted to go shopping, and since the Luna was going, I was required to go myself. I tried to get Owen to come with me, but he wanted to stay home with his mate. That traitor! I was still waiting to meet mine, but for some reason, it just never happened. You would think having more than 800 members in this pack, one of the unmated females I've met over the years would be my mate. But then again, I don't even think I've met all of them. With so many pack members, it was almost impossible to know everyone or even meet them. As I was waiting at the car, I finally saw the front door open, and my sister walked out. Finally, I muttered to myself, and just as I did, the most amazing scent hit me. It smelled like freshly peeled oranges with a splash of agave nectar. What was this tantalizing aroma? I looked past my sister and the others, and then when I saw her. A beautiful blonde with green eyes. Mate! 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 My Wolf Jefferson howled in my mind. There was no way. After all this time, I had finally found her. As soon as she and I made contact one another, it was like my world stopped. Her green eyes turned black with L.UST, and she immediately ran past the others and straight into my arms. I wasted no time in attacking her L.PS and pinning her against the car. I wanted her, and she wanted me. Jefferson was going crazy, telling me to mark her. But I needed to make sure I knew her name first. Hello, my beautiful, what is your name? I asked her, trying to keep myself from her right here and now. Michelle, what's yours? She asked with an audible gulp. I could sense her AR0USAL and it was driving me mad. Angelo. Oh, you're Milan's brother. Indeed, I am, I say and gently rub my L.PS against hers again. But more importantly, I'm yours, and you are mine, I say to her and hold her tightly against my body. I was at full attention. Oh, she M0ANED. Oh my god. Bro, put her down, my sister screamed at me. Milan, you're such a... I shouted back at her, putting Michelle down. What just happened? The Luna asked. Well, it looks like my brother finally found his mate, Milan said, crossing her arms. And what happened to being formal with me? Because you're not acting like the Gamma, you're like my annoying sister, so formalities, I grunt while holding Michelle close to me. Michelle, you seriously accept my brother as your mate? Yet. Look at him. I smirked at her response. Ugh, fine, let's get going. Going? I just met my mate, and we have to leave. Angelo, she's coming with us. I turned to look at Michelle and she nodded her head. Oh, well, in that case, let's go, I say and open the passenger door for Michelle. Oh my god, this is going to turn into a date for them now, my sister said. I just rolled my eyes and put the seatbelt on Michelle for her. I'm more than capable of doing that myself, she said sweetly. I know, I just want an excuse to be close to you, I tell her, and she blushes. Ah, that's so sweet, the Luna says. Blah, both my sister and the beta gag. I close the door for my mate and open the doors for everyone else. Once everyone is situated, we leave the territory to head for the mall. Michelle's POV. I couldn't believe it. I finally have my mate. This is crazy, and all so sudden, but I couldn't be happier. I didn't even know this guy existed, I mean, kind of hard to know all of the males in our pack. But I also had no idea he existed because I'm just a low-level Omega, and he's a head trainer for all of the warriors in the pack. I mean, this guy is pretty high level, and he's the Gamma's twin brother. Not to mention he's hot as. I knew siding with the Luna and becoming her friend would pay off in more ways than one. Melody and I have been friends since we were younger, so I knew eventually I would get to hang out with all the ranked females. I ended up ditching Layla and the others after what happened. I couldn't believe that the Luna wanted to keep her attack off the record, but I also knew that it wouldn't be the only time Layla would try and pull a stunt like that. After I told them I wanted nothing to do with our little group anymore, I started to hang out with the ranked females a little more. When they told me that they were going shopping today and wanted me to come along, I was more than happy to. It wasn't like I had anything better to do with my time now, but it was the best decision I ever made because now, I have my mate. So, Michelle, I'm guessing you're going to move into the castle now, hey? Sarin asked me. What? I turned around and looked at her. Why would I move into the castle? I asked. Because Angelo lives in the castle, Melody said. I turned back around and looked at him. It didn't even dawn on me that he lived in the castle. I mean, it makes sense, he's the Gamma's brother, and he's the head trainer. Why wouldn't he live in the castle? Do I have to? If you want to FK my brother whenever you want, yeah, the Gamma said. I immediately blushed at what she said. Why was I getting flustered? Don't worry my sweet, you can take your time moving your things into the castle. I will need to get with the Alpha to get a larger room with a private bathroom. You don't have to wait for Jasper, I can help you get a bigger room, Sarin said with a big smile. I know where the room assignments are in his office, thank you, Luna, that would be great, Angelo said to her and I just smiled. Angelo reached over the console and grabbed a hold of my hand, and the sparks that shot across my entire arm was nothing I had ever felt before. Ugh, Melange R0ANED when she saw. Quit hating sis, Angelo said to her. I'm not hating, I'm happy for you Angelo, I really am, and I know mom and dad will be happy too, but try to keep it PG while we're out in public with humans, hey. I can try, but you might want to tell my sweet here that she needs to stop thinking dirty, he replied. I gasped in embarrassment. Don't worry Michelle, I'm always thinking dirty when it comes to Jasper, Sarin said. You. Sarin, I didn't need to know that. Melody shouted and covered her ears. What? Sarin asked innocently, making all of us laugh. Even though she was Luna, she was still innocent and naive. Sarin, I don't want to hear about you and my brother doing the deed. That's for you guys to know and for me to never find out. Melody exclaimed. But you're the one who taught me how to do the thing with a cucumber, and told me to pretend that it was Jasper, she replied, making all of us laugh. I told you never put it in that context, Sarin. Melody shouted and started gagging like she was about to hurl. Michelle, I never want to hear about you and my brother doing the nasty, do you hear me? Yes, Gamma, I replied while chuckling as she too made gagging noises. Don't worry sis, you'll never hear anything out of my sweet's mouth because she will never able to speak again when I'm through with her, Angelo said. My mouth dropped, and my face heated up. I knew I looked like a tomato after that. Ack! Why did you have to say that? The Gamma shouted and smacked him upside the head. Now I can't get that image out of my head. Hey! I'm driving, he shouted back at her. I couldn't help but laugh at the sibling rivalry. It was honestly really cute to see them fighting like cats and dogs, but you can see the sibling love within it as well. I need to think about Jason, that's going to help. Yeah, what I need to think about, the Gamma said out loud. Hey! Now I can't get that image out of my head. Angelo exclaimed, making all of us laugh. Ugh! I miss Jasper. Sarin whined. I miss Kendrick, Melody sulked. I just shook my head and held Angelo's hand the entire way to the mall. Milan's POV. As much as my brother and I fight, I was seriously really excited for him to finally have found his mate. Though I was a little shocked it was Michelle since she came from Layla's brigade, but after spending some time with her, she's definitely good company, and she and Sarin get along well. I know for a fact that Michelle also slept with Jasper a few years ago, but she wasn't the clingy type, and she and Jasper never made it known to the public. She was also on my good graces after she had told me that she helped Sarin out when it came to an altercation with Layla. I wanted to know in more detail what happened, but both she and Sarin won't tell us. I get the feeling it was bad enough to get Layla and her friends banished, but Sarin was too nice to let that happen. When we got to the mall, my brother came around and opened all of our doors for us. He locked the car and took Michelle's hand in his and we all walked in to get our shopping on. Sarin mentioned that Jasper left his credit card, so I knew she had no excuse not to buy anything. Alright ladies, let's have some fun, I said while rubbing my hands together. Where should we go first? Sarin asked. Let's go somewhere we can all get something, Melody said. Express? I asked, and they all nodded. Melody, Sarin, and I walked ahead of my brother and Michelle. As soon as we entered the store, we all took off in different directions. Michelle went with Angelo to the men's section, while Melody and Sarin went over the new sweater collection that came in. I went to the rompers. I found a couple that were dressy for a night on the town whenever Jason and I would go out, and some that were more casual and comfier to wear around the castle. I ended up finding one that I thought would look good on Sarin given her small frame and petite height. I grabbed it and went it to go find her and Melody. Hey, Sarin, catch! I threw the piece at her. What's this? She asked, holding it up. Something I thought would look on you. Ooh, that's cute. Melody agreed. Go try it on, she said and shoved Sarin to the fitting room. Sarin went in but never came out. Hey, you all right in there? I asked. Come out and show us, we were met with silence. I looked at Melody who just shrugged her shoulders. Sarin, come out, she finally opened the door and shows us the outfit. Wow, that looks on you, Melody said, and I nodded my head in agreement. Is it supposed to be this short? She said, trying to pull it down more. Yes, that's the style, I tell her. I don't think Jasper would be okay with me showing off my legs like this, she said, still fidgeting. Stop whining, and just get it. It looks good on you, I reply and shove her back into the fitting room. I look at Melody again and she tries not to laugh. After Sarin came back out, she went over to the leggings section to get some more leggings. This girl and her leggings. I just rolled my eyes and let her do what she needed. Melody and I picked out some jeans, and my brother picked up some new polos. Michelle also picked out some jeans and leggings. We checked out and headed to the next store. We ended up at Nordstrom, and Sarin looked like a lost puppy trying to decide what she wanted to get. Every time she picked up something she liked, she looked at the price tag and put it back. Sarin. Yeah. Stop looking at the price tag, she just frowned. Look, I know you're not used to spending the way we are, and you spent 8 years of your life wearing nothing but hand-me-downs and trash garments, but you don't have to live like that anymore. Jasper wanted you to have fun, so have fun and don't feel guilty. This is how Jasper is spoiling you while he is away. I'm trying, Milan. Try harder, it's been over 2 months, she sulked and rolled her eyes at me. She picked up the wool vest she was just looking at and tried it on in front of me. What do you think? She asked. I think it suits you. You can wear a long-sleeve shirt in either black, cream, or white and it would look good, I replied. She smiled and ended up taking it. Good, let loose and enjoy yourself, I said and put my arm around her shoulder. She smiled at me and went back to shopping. Sarin's POV. As much as I hated spending Jasper's money, Milan had a point. It has been over 2 months since I came to Blue Lake, and I was still afraid the other shoe would drop. I needed to let my old life go because I was never going back to that. Though, a part of me couldn't help but be a little nervous that something bad may happen. I shook off the nerves for now and decided that I would do what Jasper said, and to have fun and get whatever I wanted. I ended up finding this really cute black puffy jacket with fur trimming. It was so warm and comfy, and I fell in love with it. I listened to Milan and did not look at the price tag. I grabbed a pair of fur earmuffs, a few beanies, and something called an infinity scarf. I was heading back to Milan and the others and saw that they were in the shoe section. Hey Sarin, do you have a pair of Uggs yet? Michelle asked. What are Uggs? I asked in return. All of their faces dropped, even Angelo's. Girl, get over here, Michelle said and dragged me to the shoe section. They got me sized for a pair of boots and I saw that the brand was called UGG. I actually found them to be ugly, but they all insisted that I needed a few pairs especially since they would be more comfortable to wear during the winter snow. I reluctantly agreed and got a pair in tan and black. When we got the check stand, and the clerk rang up all of my items, I almost SHT myself seeing the total, and I was about to take the jacket off, but I stopped myself. I promised I would have fun, and I knew that Jasper wouldn't be angry with this particular total since he has spent so much more on me anyway. I decided to just get everything and swiped Jasper's credit card. After we all left the store, all the girls ugged me. What was that? I asked them. For not caring about the price tags, they all said. Was it that obvious I was frugal? I loved that jacket you picked out, Sarin, Melody said. Maybe I can borrow it sometime. Sure, I said with a smile. All right, I'm starving. Let's go get something good to eat, Milan said. What's the Cheesecake Factory? I asked while looking at the directory. They all gasped at me. Has my brother not taken you there yet? Melody asked, and I shook my head. Okay, we're going there then, she said, and everyone agreed. I wasn't sure what to expect, but if they were excited to go, then I was sure the food would be delicious. Chapter 29. Jasper's POV. Dinner at the Nightingale Pack was pretty uneventful and yet uncomfortable at the same time. The sheer number of unmated females in this pack was quite alarming, and Kendrick and I found ourselves being eyed by multiple females. Even though my mark is clearly visible, these women didn't know when to quit. Kendrick had it worse since he is technically an unmarked male. After dinner, Kendrick and I decided to go check out the pack territory to get an idea of how much bigger this pack house was going to be. When I asked Alpha Rabano if the plan was to extend the property, he said no, and that he planned on demolishing the pack house in its entirety and starting from scratch. Kendrick and I were shocked to hear this because that meant that all of the pack members would be dispersed for a few years. Personally, as an alpha myself, I found that too reckless, but it wasn't my pack, so I had no right to say anything on the matter. Though just from the astronomical number of unhappy faces at dinner, his pack was not happy about the fact they would technically be without a home or a pack for a few years while construction got underway. I mean, I get this guy's need for a bigger pack house, but why not just build smaller homes in the process and let his pack stay within the territory? Kendrick said. I agree with you, but it's not our place to pass judgment on how he runs his pack, I answer. I wonder how much damage the girls did on our bank accounts, he asked, quickly changing the subject. I'm fairly certain my angel spent more than she was supposed to, he said with a smile. Sarin probably didn't spend too much. If she did, she was probably coerced into it by Milan, I reply. We wandered around the forest surrounding the pack house and came upon a small river. Hey, want to let our wolves for a run? He asked. Sure, we found a boulder nearby and PPED out of our clothes and let Blade and Ajax take over. It was half moon tonight, and the skies were clear. Our wolves ran around at full speed, excited to be out, but I could already tell Blade was missing Callie. Ever since Sarin shifted for the first time, all our late-night runs have been with her. So, running with Ajax just wasn't the same, but Blade was still making the most of it. While we were running, Ajax came to a sudden halt and crouched down. Blade looked out into the distance. There was a deer or an elk of some sort. Dude, we just had dinner. It's not me, it's Ajax. You know he likes to hunt. It's too close to civilization, we can't let humans see us. Reel him back in. Fine. After Kendrick got Ajax's blood L.UST for prey under control, we headed back towards the river where left our clothes, only to find that our clothes had been taken. What? Where are our clothes? Kendrick exclaimed. Someone must have stolen them as a prank, man. We can't go back. We don't have a choice. We walked back to the pack house as close as we could before shifting back and making a break for it. The last we needed was for unmated females to see us and ached, but we already knew that the moment we stepped foot into the house, no matter how fast our wolf speed was, someone was going to see. S.H.T. Kendrick exclaimed in a whisper. What? My room key and my phone were in my pants. Mine was too. We both just looked at each other, lost on what we needed to do. You stay here, Ken, let me see if I can get a guard to help us. What? I'm marked, you're not, we can't have females seeing you. Good point, have fun. I took a deep breath and walked up to one of the pack house guards. He looked straight at me and lifted a brow in confusion. Good evening, I say to him naturally. Alpha Valencia, why are you ached? Well, it appears that someone has stolen my clothes, along with that of my betas after we went for a run in wolf form. Our guest room keys and cell phones are in our pants, and we don't appreciate being pranked like this. I apologize for the inconvenience, Alpha. Please, let me find Alpha Rabano to have this matter fixed. Thank you. I waited outside while the guard went inside. I couldn't help but cover myself with my hands when I saw some females walking by. They snickered and giggled, and I ended up shifting back into wolf form. Kendrick came up next to me while I waited, and he too shifted back into Ajax. We lied on the ground and waited together. A few minutes later, Alpha Rabano and the guard I spoke to came back out with some shorts for us. We shifted back and quickly slipped them on. Alpha Valencia, please accept my sincerest apologies for what has happened. It appears that some of the young males stole your clothing as a prank, Alpha Rabano said to me, bowing his head. I don't find it funny stealing something that doesn't belong to them. The clothes can always be replaced, but our room keys and our personal cellular devices were in our pants, and we would like them back, I tell him sternly. Yes, of course, please come inside so that we can find your belongings, he says and leads us back in. I'm already annoyed at the fact someone stole our clothes, but the last thing I need is someone trying to unlock my phone and going through my personal effects or potentially calling Sarin. Luckily, they're spare keys to our rooms, and I was able to get my laptop out to track mine and Kendrick's phones. They were definitely in the pack house, and it appeared they were somewhere on the first floor. Alpha Rabano, Kendrick, and I followed the tracker and found that it wasn't a bunch of males that took our clothes but a bunch of females. What disgusted me the most was we found them taking provocative selfies with them. ¿Qué crees que estás haciendo? What do you think you are doing? Alpha Rabano shouted at them. They all gasped and stood to their feet. Alpha. No tienes vergüenza? Como te atreves a robarle un alpha visitante? Have you no shame? How dare you steal from a visiting alpha? All the girls lowered their heads while Kendrick and I grabbed our things. The first thing we both did was delete all of the photos that they took. Then, I made sure that they didn't send any to anyone, and thankfully they didn't. But Kendrick wasn't so lucky. They sent some of these photos to Melody. Kendrick growled and his eyes turned black with anger. Call her right now. I tell him, but as he was about to, his phone started to ring. Ah! I knew immediately that it was Melody. Angel, no, it's not what you think. I swear. My phone was stolen by the girl who sent those photos. I promise, baby. Ask your brother, he said and gave me the phone. Hello? Jasper. What? Why did I get a semi-nude photo of another woman from Kendrick? It's just as he said, our phones were stolen by a bunch of she-wolves as some kind of stupid prank. You promise? I promise. Kendrick has been with me the entire time we've been here. Look, I'll show you. I turned the phone call to video, and showed her the she-wolves that were in trouble. See, little sister. Give the phone to the asterisk that sent me this photo. I look at the photo, and pinpoint the she-wolf that did it and handed her the phone. Escucham puta repugnant. Si siquiera miris a mi compañero, volari hasta ali yte arrancar el puto corazón. Enchins. Listen to me, you. If you even look at my mate, I'll fly up there and rip your heart out. Understand? Si entiendo. Lo siento, yes, I understand. I'm sorry, she replied to my sister and gave me back the phone. Don't you worry your pretty little head. Ken's being good, I promise. Okay, she smiled. Give him back the phone. I handed the phone to him. Angel, I love you so much. I would never do anything to hurt you, you know that. I do, and I trust you. But I don't trust those sluts. You don't need to worry about them, baby, I just need you to trust me. I love you, babe. I will you see soon, love you. Bye. Kendrick hung up and let out a deep sigh. Alpha Rabano, I address him and he looks at me with an apologetic expression. Need I remind you that my beta's mate is also my little sister? I will not tolerate pranks such as what just occurred to happen again. I don't care if this your pack. What they did could have jeopardized my beta's bond with my sister. I understand Alpha Valencia, and I sincerely apologize. This is your one and only warning. Keep your pack members in line, or I won't hesitate to pull out of this project." He looked at me in shock. Although it would a loss of money for my company, he knows that finding a company such as mine for such a pristine project is far and few in between. Let alone one that was run by a werewolf. I don't even let him answer as I turn my heel and go back to my room, along with Kendrick. As we're walking away, I can hear Alpha Rabano screaming at the females that almost cost him the renovation to the pack house. "Hey, I didn't know Dot could speak Spanish fluently," Kendrick said as we made our way up to our rooms. "Our last name is Valencia, our ancestors are from Spain, so she took it upon herself to learn it." "Why don't you speak it?" "I speak a little, but I understand it more." "What did Melody say to those she-wolves?" "She threatened to rip their hearts out if they even so much as looked at you," I answer. He throws his head back and laughs. "My angel is not one to be messed with." "No, she's not, and I would take what happened just now a lesson to put a passcode on your phone." "There is a passcode on my phone." "It can't be 0000, you dumb." I smack him upside the head. "It's not." "Or 1234. "Ah," I just shook my head. "Go to bed," I tell him and head into my room. I put my laptop away, and double-checked my phone to make sure I didn't miss any of the photos those she-wolves took. I also double-checked that any messages that they could have sent or emails. Luckily, my phone was clean. I let out a deep sigh and went into the bathroom to shower before going to bed. I honestly wanted to cut this trip short, and just get the deal over with and go home, but I had one more piece of business that I needed to deal with. The next morning, Kenrick and I were up early and get our morning workout in. We both played it safe and kept our phones in our rooms and locked the doors. We made sure to keep our key tied into the lace of our shorts, so we didn't lose them. Instead of doing 10 miles outside, we decided to use the pack house gym and ran on the treadmills. "Have you talked to Sarin?" Kendrick asked me in the middle of our run. "I talked to her yesterday before dinner." "Is she freaking out without you being there?" "She seems to be handling herself okay. She had a whining moment, but that was cut short because of Milan." "What's it like having such a age gap?" "Honestly, I love it. Sarin is pretty mature for her age, but when she has her not so mature moments, it's cute as, and it helps that she's a whole foot shorter than I am. I don't remember Aunt Meg being that small. Aunt Meg was my mom's height if I remember correctly, at least 5'7" or 5'8". I think my girl is small because of malnutrition growing up. Her most important years were spent in slavery, and she didn't get to eat regularly, so I'm assuming that may have stunted her growth," I tell him. "Besides, my sister is small too." "Yeah, but Melody is like 5'6", she's small compared to us, but she's taller than Sarin." There a moment of silence between us during the run, but then he had to open his big mouth. "So, what's with her being so small?" I immediately jumped off the treadmill and tackled him to the ground. "Don't you ever ask about my life with Sarin?" I roared in his face. I loved Kenrick like a brother, but sometimes he never knew when to stop being so nosy. "Okay, my bad," I got off of him and went back to my run. He got up off the floor and finished as well. After our run, we had breakfast sent up to our rooms so I could prepare for the meeting. I looked at the time and saw that it was roughly 3 in the morning back home. Took late, or too late to try and call Sarin. So, I decided to send her a text message. "Hello beautiful. I know you're asleep right now, but I just wanted to let you know I miss you. I will be busy for the majority of the day, but hopefully, we can video chat before I go to bed tonight. I love you, dearest. I put the phone down and pulled out the files to get ready for the meeting, but to my surprise, I received a response. I love and miss you too, Jasper. I couldn't help the smile that formed across my face when I saw her reply. Though I was surprised she responded, but if I know her as well as I think I do, she probably wasn't sleeping well without me there. I quickly sent her a reply. Me, try to sleep, baby. I know it's hard without me there, but the quicker you sleep, the quicker time will go by. We will be together soon. My dearest, I will try. I love you so much, Jasper. I hate that you're away. Me, I know, dearest. But I promise time will go by faster if you don't think about it. Good night, baby. My dearest, good night, Prince Charming. I threw my phone to the side and started to get the files and documents ready for the meeting. If this meeting goes smoothly, and one of the property designs is approved, I would be able to spend more time with Sarin at home and take her on vacation. Possibly even plan for a pup. Thinking about having a family with Sarin immediately resulted in a smile on my face. After showering, getting dressed, and refining last-minute preparations, Kendrick and I went down to the meeting hall where we were met by Alpha Rabano, the PAC attorney Eduardo Cabello, Beta Javier Esposito, and the construction company that will be handling the actual building of the new PAC house. Alpha Valencia, it is a pleasure to finally meet you, Eduardo said, shaking my hand. Pleasure to meet you too, I replied. This is my beta Kendrick, and he moved to shake his hand as well. Gentlemen, let us get started, Alpha Rabano said. We all took our seats, and the meeting got underway. Alpha Valencia, I honestly have to admit, I didn't think I would find any designs that would interest me, but this one has really caught my attention, Alpha Rabano said to me while holding up the last design that I had submitted. I was actually relieved because it was submitted by one of the newer employees on my design team, but I felt it was unique and original. Alpha, if you are happy with this design, shall we proceed with signing the contract? Eduardo asked Rabano. Before we do, I need an estimate on how long construction would take, he asked the construction team. I watched as they scanned the design and all the details that Rabano wanted. Alpha Rabano, en base al dicino, y los detalles que dice, el llevará al menos un mínimo de 2 años y medio, Alpha Rabano, based on the design, and the details that you want, it will take at least a minimum 2.5 years. Perfecto, let us sign. I pulled out the contract and handed it over to Eduardo. He read it over in great detail before nodding his head and had Alpha Rabano sign it. I tore off the copy that I keep, one for the construction team, and one for Eduardo to keep. We all shook hands and adjourned the meeting. Alpha Rabano, it has been a pleasure doing business with you, I say and shake his hand. The pleasure is all mine, Alpha Valencia. Will you be joining us for dinner? Yes, we will. I just need to get my things situated and then I will be right down, he nodded his head and we all went our separate ways. Well, that worked out better than I thought, Kendrick said. It did, now we just got to get through dinner here, and then tomorrow, we're leaving. Why so soon? There's something I need to do in Vatican City. Which would be? Research on Sarin. What? There's so much more to her than we know or realize, and I need to be sure I know everything there is to her if I'm going to protect her. Well, if it means protecting the Luna, then let's get to studying. I needed to know everything there is to her, and there was only one place I knew of that would hold the information I needed. Chapter 30. Jasper's POV. After leaving Zaragoza, Kendrick and I made our way to Vatican City. I had no intention of keeping this trip a secret from Sarin, but I needed to be sure I could actually find out more about her and all of the potential dangers that we may face if anything were to ever happen to our bond. I had the utmost confidence in it, but even I knew that there was the potential what if that could happen. Once we landed, we headed over to the library down the road from Sistine Chapel. As soon as entered the holy grounds, we could instantly feel eyes on us. Though werewolves were not products of the devil, like vampires, witches, and demons, we were still considered to be dangerous, and those who were righteous and holy like monks, nuns, and priests could sense that we weren't human. It made for a compromising situation when we were approached by a priest. "You should not be here," he said to Kendrick and me. "Father, we are here to just do some research. We mean no harm," I tell him. "I'm surprised the heavens even allowed you to enter these sacred grounds." "It's because we're not spawns of evil, even you know that, Father," Kendrick said. The priest looked at both of us, almost studying our souls. "Father, you obviously know of our kind," I say to him. "I do, very intimately." "Then perhaps you can help us." "Why would I want to help you?" "I didn't say anything about you wanting to help us, I said that you can help us." "Speak." "Have you heard of the rare wolf called the Primordial?" His face when I said this was one of shock and amazement. "So, you have heard of it," I state. He fixes his composure and has us follow him. We get to a room on the other side of the library that he has to be unlocked with a special key. "Come," he says, and we follow him inside. He locks the door behind us and turns on the lights. He leads us down a spiral staircase, down a long corridor, and into another room while fl-ing on different lights along the way. "Dude, why do I feel like we're playing a role in National Treasure?" "Shut up, Ken." When the priest turns on the final light, Kendrick and I jump back, both of almost shifting right then and there when we came face to face with a werewolf statue. It was humongous and it almost looked like it was alive at first. Once Ken and I realized it was only a statue, we controlled our wolves. "Father, what is this?" I asked him. "This is the first known primordial, William. Discovered in 5000 BC. He was quite the leader, he was known as a true alpha, that was until he came into his powers. According to legend, William lost control and became hungry for power that he lost his humanity. He was never able to take the form of a human again. Anyone he turned, all met that same fate." "I'd never heard of such a thing," Kendrick said while circling the statue. "Primordials were some of the most feared of your kind, and most if not all possessed great power, some more than others." "That I already know, Father. What can you tell me about a female primordial?" "Ah, females are even rarer. Only 2 have been recorded to have existed, and both were met with the same fate. Death, by a vampire." "Yes, Alessandro. There are tales that say he is still waiting for the perfect female to make his bride. Though I doubt the heavens would allow another to exist. I read in a book that there would be one more, one that would be powerful enough to stop him. I have read this as well, however, there has been no word of another female coming into existence." "That's because she's supposed to be dead," I answer. The priest looks at me with wide eyes. "Are you telling me she exists?" he asks with concern in his voice. "She does, she's my mate. She must die." "What?" I grabbed the priest by the throat. "Jasper! Let him go. Come on, man, he's a priest." Kendrick was doing his best to break my hold on him. I finally dropped the priest as he coughed for air. "You are not an ordinary wolf, you are an alpha," he says while catching his breath and getting up off the floor. "You say this primordial is recorded to be dead. Yes. Then it needs to remain that way. I'm sure you read that your bond as mates is what keeps her hidden from Alessandro. I nod my head. Then there is nothing else I can tell you. Everything you know is already written in any text. Come on man, this was a waste of time. Let's get home to our girls, Kendrick said and pulled my arm. Wait, we both stopped and looked at the priest. I may not be able to tell you anything more, but there is someone who might. Go Parco dei Castelli Romani, and seek out a man named Lorenzo Rossi, he may be able to assist you. Let's go, Kendrick. Once we found our way out of the library, Kendrick and I rented a car and made our way to Parco dei Castelli Romani. It was about an hour's drive. The entire trip there, Kendrick and I didn't say a word. I was still boiling from the fact that the priest had the nerve to tell me that Sarin needed to die, all because of what she was. Sarin didn't ask to be born, the moon goddess made her, and she and high powers are the ones that were giving her powers. When we got to Parco dei Castelli Romani, I parked the car, and we made our way on foot. We stopped multiple people asking for this Lorenzo Rossi, and most people had no idea who we were talking about. Kendrick and I split up and walked around asking anyone that looked like they were from the area, but it was mostly tourists. After about 2 hours of asking around, I finally found someone that was native to the area. Sai dove posso trovare Lorenzo Rossi? Do you know where I can find Lorenzo Rossi? Vai nella foresta, go to the forest. Grazie, they nodded their head and walked off. It was strange, but it almost as if this person weren't even real, but I shrugged it off. I met back up with Kendrick. Hey, anything? He asked. Yeah, a native told me to go into the forest. The forest? That's what she said, I replied. All right, let's go. We made our way into the forest, and as soon as we entered, Blade was starting to stir. Being in nature is one of his favorite pastimes, and the fact that the greenery in this area was so lush, he was itching to get out. Calm down, Mutt. I need to get out. It's been days since you've let me out. We need to find this Lorenzo Rossi first. The faster we find him and get the information we need on our mate, the quicker we get home and we can go running with her. Fine. Ken, keep your eyes and ears open. This is new territory for us, and we don't know who this guy actually is. I'm not Ken. I look over and see that Ajax has taken over. Ajax, what? Forgive me, Alpha, but I needed some fresh air. Bring Ken back now. That's an order. Yes, Alpha, I watched as he gave Kendrick back control. Ajax, he muttered, and I shook my head while rolling my eyes. We went further and further into the forest, and I found that we could no longer see the small town. We were completely surrounded by nothing but forest. Jasper, where are we supposed to find a single person in the middle of a forest like this? I don't know, but I'm not giving up until we do. I need answers, and I'm not leaving without them. We kept moving, and it was starting to get dark. Kendrick and I haven't eaten since we landed in Vatican City, and I knew both of us along with our wolves were starting to get hungry. Kendrick, we may need to shift to go hunting, I tell him. Leave it to me, we both know you're too big to go hunting on your own, I scoffed at his remark as he took his clothes off and gave them to me. Camping out was nothing new to us, and luckily it wasn't too cold at night in Italy at the moment. We could easily sleep in wolf form to keep us warm. I waited for Kendrick to come back. I looked at my phone and saw that it had been over an hour since he went hunting. I know for a fact that it doesn't him that long to find something to eat, let alone in a forest as lush as the one we're in, where there is plenty of small game. I tried to mind link him, but he was unresponsive. I got up from where I was sitting and went to go find him. I followed the path that he took and followed his scent. I walked for about 15 minutes following his scent, when I started to smell blood. "Ken, are you there?" I called out to him. I was met with silence, and the smell of blood was getting stronger, while his scent was getting weaker. That wasn't a good sign. "Kendrick, where are you?" Still nothing. I kept going in the direction of the blood, and I found a fresh deer carcass. I looked at the fresh KLL, and I could tell that it was Kendrick's doing, but where was Kendrick? I tried to mind link him again but still got no response. "Blade, tell me you if can sense Ajax." "No, I can't. His scent is weak. I don't like this. Kendrick would never leave a KLL like this." As I was trying to track his scent, I heard a twig snap behind me, but before I could even turn around, I was met with a blow to the head, and immediately darkness took over. Kendrick's POV. "All right, Ajax, let's go get some dinner." "With pleasure." I pped out of my clothes and gave them Jasper for safekeeping. Ajax shifted as he took over and took off into the forest. He was happy to be out, and I was happy being a werewolf because that meant we wouldn't starve to death. "Let's see if we can find a deer big enough to share. I heard that Italian deer meat is quite tasty." "You read my mind, Kendrick. You know we technically share a mind, right? Don't be technical with me." Ajax pranced through the forest trying to pick up the scent of any wildlife. About 10 minutes later, he came upon a doe at a stream. It was drinking water and had its back to us. I pulled back, and let Ajax have full control to go in for the KLL. He stepped lightly and blended into the shadows. Even though he's a golden wolf, he knows how to blend, and he is very stealthy. Slowly he crept up on the doe, who was completely oblivious to the fact that it was being stalked. "Sorry little dear, but you're going to be dinner for us," I said to myself and said a silent prayer for the deer. As the great words of Mufasa in The Lion King, "It's the circle of life." Ajax was about 10 feet away and crouched down getting ready to pounce. As soon the deer felt our presence, Ajax pounced and the deer took off, but it ended up being so startled it lost its footing trying to dodge some of the wee rocks around the stream and tripped. It allowed for Ajax to catch up, and he snagged it with his paws and swiftly killed it by suffocating it with a bite to the throat. "Good job, man. That was an easy KLL, and it didn't suffer too much." I almost forgot the thrill of the hunt. We need to hunt more often. We will when we get back home. Maybe you and Tundra can have a competition on who can catch a rabbit first. Sounds like fun. We looked down at the deer he just killed, and he picked it up with his mouth. As we're making our way back to Jasper, something caught Ajax's attention. He put the deer down and looked around. I concentrated using his sense, and I could feel that we were being watched. I shifted back into human form, which was a horrible mistake. As soon as I did, something tackled me, and I felt myself hit my head and become delirious. The next thing I knew, I saw a figure standing over me, and a fist coming at my face. That was the last thing I saw. Sarin's POV. We were all sitting at the dinner table, but I found that I didn't have an appetite. I hadn't heard from Jasper all day, and seeing his empty chair at the table was making me incredibly depressed. I figured that he was busy with work and probably didn't have the time to contact me, but it still bothered me. I looked over at Melody, who also seemed to be down. "I'm guessing you haven't heard from Kendrick either?" I asked her, and she shook her head. We both let out a deep sigh. "Come on you two," I'm sure that Jasper and Ken had a busy day today. I'm sure they're both okay, and that they will call you or text you too tomorrow, Jason said to us. Jason is right, you guys, don't be so down that they missed one day. You know that it's not realistic for them to call every day or night, Milan added. Sarin. I turned around to see Ronan and Grace. What's wrong, sweetheart? Grace asked. I'm worried about Jasper, he didn't call or text all day today, I tell her. Oh, honey, I'm sure he's fine. He's probably just busy with work. I know how you're feeling, I was the same way the first time Ronan had to leave me for several days visiting other packs around the country for alpha business. There is no need to worry, she said and kissed my forehead. I nodded and went back to my dinner. Jasper would be upset if I didn't eat properly while he was away. Melody, baby girl, I know you're worried about Kendrick, but he's with your brother, so stop sulking, Ronan said to her. Ugh, I hate being away from him. I don't know how you did it, Dad. How could you be away from Mom all those times when going away on business? It was hard on all of us, but I also had to be away from you and your brother. But it's the unfortunate downside with being an alpha and a company CEO. It's just something you two have to get used to. It's not like you two can't travel with them when it's somewhere domestic, he said to both of us. Melody and I looked at each other and just sighed and nodded our heads. Girls, I know it's an adjustment, but I promise it does get easier with time, Grace said and held both of our hands. There's something that I wanted to speak to you about, Sarin, Ronan said to me. I looked up at him as I took a bite of my pasta. I spoke with Alpha Richard, of the Golden Moon Pack, gave me a call. Who's that? I asked. He's one of the alphas that were at Blood Moon when Jasper found you, I made an O shape with my mouth. He's a wise and non-violent alpha that opened an investigation into Elder Scott of Blood Moon. I think you will be glad to know that he's been pped of his elder status, and has been banished. Why? Because as an elder, he turned a blind eye when Eric brought you into his pack and turned you into a slave when you were merely a pup. What Eric did is highly illegal, and given that an elder had knowledge of the crime, but stood by and let it happen, he disgraced himself as an elder, so the other elders voted against him. Wow, I didn't even know something like that could happen. Richard is also working to bring down Blood Moon for what they did. Unfortunately, that investigation will take much longer. It's going to have to go all the way back to when Eric challenged your father. Even if the challenge was legal, the elders now believe that it was a ploy to just kill Mitch and his pack. Does that make a difference? Melody asked. It does. If Eric went into the challenge, solely just to take over, then that's fine. Even him slaughtering the pack afterward is actually considered legal, he said and then looked at me apologetically. However, if Eric's initial intent was to kill Mitch and the pack to gain power, then the status of the challenge can be taken back, and Eric could be executed for twisting our laws to fit his own agenda. It could be seen as premeditated murder, and add on the fact that he had a child slave, Eric can be executed, and Kale will be pped of his TLE, and Blood Moon will be dismantled. Darling, do you really think Eric would use a challenge to get away with murder? Grace asked. I honestly wouldn't put it past him. He always hated Mitch, and he was even jealous of him when Megan turned out to be his mate. Why would he be jealous? I asked. Because your mother was an alpha female. Many alphas coveted her, and wanted her to be their chosen mate, regardless if she wasn't their destined one. But she turned them all down and said she was waiting for her destined mate. One of those alphas included Eric. He lusted over her for a few years. He had no idea that she was mated to your father until an alpha gathering at Golden Moon took place. It was one where Lunas were allowed to attend, so your father brought her. Eric didn't have a mate yet, so when he saw her there, but clinging to your father, he was outraged, and swore he would get back at Mitch one day. But why hold a grudge for so long? He eventually met his mate, and had kids of his own, Milan said. Actually, Nicole isn't his destined mate, Ronan said. What? We all exclaimed. Eric's father forced him to take Nicole as a chosen mate. I found out not too long after Sarin was born, and it became a hot issue amongst other alphas. We all had our destined mates, while Eric had to settle for a chosen one, and one that he didn't choose. Wow, no wonder Eric always seemed to be unhappy, I said out loud. Well, I for one hope that the investigation goes in favor of guilty of premeditated murder. What better justice will there be for Sarin than having the person responsible for her family's death met with the same fate, and his pack in shambles, Jason said. I smiled at Jason and he winked at me. Remember, sweetheart, this investigation will take time, and you may be called upon during the investigation to give a statement, Ronan said to me, and I nodded. He patted the back of my hand. Knowing that Eric was now under investigation made me happy. Maybe there would be justice for my family after all. I just prayed that it turned out in my favor. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description. Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.